Welcome back to the Top Notch Documentaries YouTube channel. As some of you might already be aware, Israel Keyes was interviewed at the Cook Inlet Pretrial Facility in Anchorage, Alaska on April 27th of 2012. The interview was carried out by psychologist Ronald Roche, and Israel had requested the psychological evaluation. The psychologist spent roughly 6 hours with him, and in that time there was an exchange of interesting information. The topic of today's video is focused on Israel Keyes and drugs. Hope you enjoy. The topic of prescription drugs is raised when Israel claimed to having never had any history when it came to receiving mental health treatment. He had taken Wellbutrin. This antidepressant helps to treat major depressive disorder and is commonly used to help people quit smoking. Israel had been prescribed Wellbutrin by a physician because he wanted to break his habit of smoking. This doesn't seem to have stopped his habit. Israel was then asked about other substances, one of which is marijuana. Israel was a frequent smoker but denied smoking prior to being arrested. It is unclear if this means that he stopped smoking in the weeks or months leading up to Samantha Koenig's abduction and murder. Israel's marijuana consumption really began and rapidly escalated upon his move up to Alaska. He would learn more about it whilst living at Kimberly's house because some of Kimberly's friends were daily smokers. Israel learned that a large majority of Alaskan residents have their own grow operations. The local authorities turn a blind eye to the growing operations and only really intervene if it was being sold. Keyes brought up the idea of having a grow operation in the storage shed at Kimberly's house. Kimberly wasn't impressed by this plan and told Israel not to do it. However, Keyes did it anyway. Clearly, he wasn't interested in her opinion. This signified a huge breach in trust, given the possible legal ramifications falling onto Kimberly if something was to go wrong. Israel started out smoking a couple of times a week, but as he grew more accustomed to the relaxing feeling, he upped his usage. The growing operation in the storage shed enabled him to smoke more, as he had lights and water set up on timers. However, pot makes people lazy, and Keyes was no different. His lack of motivation and drive resulted in him eating way too much and he put on the pounds. He started losing interest and he mentioned this in one of the interviews. I'm guessing that it is the same loss of interest being mentioned here, and so this was probably taking place sometime in mid to late 2011. Israel would begin his workday by smoking, and given the fact that he was self-employed, this probably didn't help him out at all. Keyes was acting differently, and this might have caught Kimberly's attention. She knew something was up and ultimately ended up uncovering his grow operation, and Keyes was forced to shut it down. This was apparently the last straw in their relationship, as Kimberly had experienced quite a few rifts when it came to their relationship. Another significant event that probably pushed a wedge between Israel and Kimberly was when Kimberly caught Israel talking to guys online. He'd been drinking too much and must have forgotten to delete his browsing activity or left a tab open. Kimberly returned from a trip and came across the chat logs. She wasn't impressed. Just from the grow operation and online activity of Keyes, it's clear to see just how oblivious Kimberly had been prior to Israel being caught. Everything was taking place just under her nose, and despite all of these events taking place, Israel still resided with her. Israel stated that Kimberly didn't know the full extent of what he was doing. Following the discovery, Israel knew that he needed to get his life together again. His pot use had to halt and he knew it. He was sick of being uninterested in working, and he was now fat and lazy. For these reasons, he quit the smoking. For the first couple of weeks, the withdrawal effects were tough to combat, but he stuck at it and it was fine after that. Keyes' next big vice was alcohol, that and cocaine. The first time that he tried cocaine was when he was in the US Army. His addictive personality had him doing $100 worth of powder per day. This was only for a week or two. Israel purchased a grand's worth and went on a bender. The come down from the gear put the fear into him, and Israel was all about being in control, and his use of cocaine paired with alcohol had him feeling out of control. He stopped using cocaine, but continued drinking. Whilst in the Bay, he tried it again and didn't enjoy the experience. He was freaked out and so didn't use it again. Israel would mention that he couldn't control the urge to go and purchase more. The final drug that really had the most impact on Israel was alcohol. Given his upbringing, it should come as no surprise that Israel indulged in this vice. Having been raised under strict parents where alcohol wasn't permitted, Keyes had only ever drunk once or twice before the age of 21. He'd already disappointed his parents years earlier when he was arrested for shoplifting at age 14. And adding to this disappointment was the discovery of stolen neighbours' property in his bedroom. I'm guessing that his parents weren't very pleased with him, and Keyes would eventually join the army as a sign of non-conformity, a way in which he could annoy his parents. When he joined the army, he would drink to get drunk, and when able to, he'd drink every night. I wonder what, if anything, was he trying to escape from? He was in his early 20s and was already drinking that excessively. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm guessing that he'd already done some messed up stuff, and was trying to avoid facing up to who he was. That, or he just enjoyed the experience. Anyway, Israel would occasionally hear about different things that he'd done when under the influence of alcohol. Army buddies would tell him these things and he wouldn't recall any of them. His drinking would continue up until his capture in March 2012. In conclusion, Israel Keyes was very much consumed by his vices. His obsessive and addictive personality can be seen by these experiences when he engaged in drug-taking behaviour. These experiences help to better our understanding of Israel as a person. They show us his devious side, whilst also showing us that he was just as easily susceptible to abusing substances and falling victim to the side effects of those substances. This has been the Israel Keyes video on drugs. As always, thank you for watching.